I am a single working mother. I do the morning scramble, the lunchbox Tetris, the after school handoff with my keys still between my fingers. My twins are 8. My son Eddie is a quiet boy who shuts down when the world gets too loud. He has a sensory plan at school, a laminated card with 3 pictures for breathe, sip water, squeeze ball, and a little calm corner in our living room with a weighted pillow and a basket of smooth stones he picked out at the garden center. My daughter Daisy is his opposite in almost every way. She is bright and blazing. She runs first and asks questions later. She is protective of Eddie to the point of stepping between him and anything that looks like teasing. She can also mow down other kids in a game if there are no lines on the field. Gentle prompts bounce off her. Clear rules and fast, predictable consequences land. I did not decide any of this in a book. I learned it sweating in parking lots and hallways, watching what helps and what does not. If I raise my voice, Eddie curls inward like I slammed a door. If I whisper and give him 2 choices, he breathes again. If I whisper to Daisy, she hears air. If I say, you sprinted after the ball while the teacher was talking, so you lose 5 minutes of recess tomorrow and we will practice the start and stop game in the yard. She rolls her eyes and then does it. 2 kids, 2 toolkits, same mother, same love. Yesterday's pickup is the one that broke me in public. The school shifted dismissal to the backfield because the gym was set for an assembly. I got there late, still in scrubs and clogs from a double, and could tell before I reached them that I had lost the window. A whistle blew. It is always whistles. Eddie had his hands over his ears and his face crumpled. Daisy was playing too square like the concrete owed her rent. When she saw me, she yelled Mom and vaulted over the chalk line. The duty teacher called, "Walk feet." Daisy did not. She clipped another girl with her shoulder. It was not malicious. It was Daisy being a small storm. I went to Eddie first because if I do not, he tips from overwhelm into full shutdown and then nothing gets better. I crouched, put my hands where he could see them, and said our script. I see tight shoulders. I hear the whistle. I believe you. Breathe in for 4. He sobbed once, the whole body kind, and then did it. 4 in, hold, 4 out. I handed him his water bottle and his squeeze ball, and he took them like they were life jackets. While we were breathing, Daisy began narrating in her big voice how unfair it was that Maya called foul when Daisy was clearly in. The other girl began narrating back. It was getting spicy. I told Eddie, I am going to set Daisy's boundary, and I will be right here. I walked to the chalk square, put a hand out so Daisy would see me, and said, "Stop. You cut across the line after the teacher said walk. You knocked Maya. We repair. Apologize. We are done with 2 square today." Daisy started with, "But Mom," I said, "consequence is 5 minutes sitting next to me now and an early bedtime tonight, and tomorrow we will practice start and stop in the yard." She huffed and kicked a pebble. I told her to look at Maya and say the words. To her credit, she did it. It was not a beautiful apology, but it was real. That is when I heard the phone voice, the particular tone people get when they are filming for a group chat. Kara, a PTA mother I only know by name and the scent of her hairspray at meetings, had her phone up and said, "Unbelievable. Coddle the boy, punish the girl." Another mother murmured, "I knew she made him the golden child." I could feel the shape of my face change. Not angry. That hollow feeling where you want to explain everything at once and also crawl into the nearest shrub. I said, "Please do not film my children." Kara said, "It is a public field." I said, "It is dismissal." She said, "Well, some of us care about girls being treated fairly." I turned back to my kids because nothing good happens when I pour energy into a phone. Daisy whispered, "Am I in big trouble?" I said, "You are in exactly the trouble I told you. And also, we are okay." Eddie pressed the squeeze ball into my palm without looking up. Daisy sat beside me for the 5 minutes, and then we walked to the car. I could feel the lens on my back. By dinner time, a clip was in the parent chat with a caption that said, "Some kids get cuddles while others get punished." People who do not know us weighed in. Why is she whispering to the boy and barking at the girl? Why is she humiliating her daughter? Why is the boy allowed to melt down, but the girl gets consequences? I wanted to type a whole book. Instead, I put my phone in a drawer and made boxed mac and cheese because I did not have the energy to season discourse and dinner. We ate at the small table. Eddie lined up his peas and told me the whistle made his bones buzz. Daisy asked if early bedtime meant no stories. I said stories still happen, then bed. She accepted it, which only people who know Daisy would recognize as a win. After dishes, I set out Daisy's consequence card on the fridge and Eddie's visual schedule on the counter. One child reads rules, one child reads pictures. Both children read love. My sister Jenna called to say the video is making rounds and I should be consistent or people will talk. People talk anyway. Mr. Bell, their teacher, texted a kind but useless note about how consistency helps twins. I said we are consistent. Consistent does not mean identical. It means predictable. And predictability looks different for two different nervous systems. I know what the clip looks like if you have never seen Eddie freeze or Daisy barrel. You see softness for a boy and structure for a girl, and you think, bias. You do not see the hours I have tried the inverse and watched both kids sink. Eddie is not the golden child. Daisy is not the scapegoat. They are twins who arrived with different boards, and I am trying to play both games without flipping the table. So Aita for kneeling and soft voicing Eddie through a breathing routine while giving Daisy a clear consequence and early bedtime in the same 5 minutes. And for continuing to use two different parenting toolkits in public when other parents say, I am creating a golden child. Comment 1, not the jerk. Different kids need different tools. You de-escalated Eddie safely and gave Daisy a fair, predictable consequence plus a repair. That is textbook individualized parenting. Ask the school to email a no recording reminder to parents. Comment 2. I get wanting tailored approaches, but it looked harsh on Daisy. Maybe give Eddie the squeeze ball while also offering Daisy a quick hug before the consequence, so the optics do not scream favoritism. Update 1. Some people were confused about what accommodations Eddie has and whether Daisy gets anything besides consequences. I will be as boring and clear as possible because internet heat makes people miss the quiet details. Eddie has a written sensory plan at school. It is not a label. It is a checklist. He can wear soft headphones during assemblies. He gets a water break after the bell before lining up. If the whistle or a fire drill tips him toward shutdown, staff use our script. I see tight shoulders. I hear the sound. I believe you. Breathe. Miss Lopez, the school counselor, set this with Mr. Bell after Eddie spent the first month hiding behind the coat rack. The plan does not excuse hitting or rudeness. It gives Eddie a path back to thinking brain. Daisy has a behavior chart we designed with the same counselor. 3 simple rules she helped write. Use walking feet at school. Use inside voice indoors. Repair if you cause harm. The chart earns her a bike ride or a craft when she owns her choices. If she breaks rules, she knows exactly what happens. Time sitting nearby. Early bedtime. Repairs like an apology or helping reset the game. Daisy does not respond to soft prompts. She responds to clear lines and fast, predictable outcomes. Then she bounces back. The morning after the clip, the parent chat had a thread titled Golden Boys. Kara's caption said, "Notice how the boy gets cuddles and the girl gets punished. Imagine what that teaches." Strangers chimed in with sentences shaped like verdicts. I put my phone in a drawer, packed lunches, and reminded Daisy that early bedtime still comes with a story. She is not a villain. She is 8. At drop-off, Mr. Bell intercepted me with his earnest face. He said, "Consistency helps twins." I said, "We are consistent. Predictability for both kids. The tools differ." He looked uncomfortable and mentioned that a handful of parents had emailed about optics. I asked if he had watched the full scene. He had seen the clip only. I said I would send him Eddie's plan and Daisy's chart again. He said, "That would help." To his credit, he looked a little embarrassed that he had opinions based on a phone video and not a file. At lunch, Ms. Lopez called and asked if she could send a short blurb to the staff about individualized supports and why a calm script for one child and a timeout for another can both be consistent parenting. I said yes. She also suggested a note to parents reminding them that filming other children at dismissal is not allowed. I said double yes. After school, Kara waited near the monkey bars like she was saving me a pep talk. She started speaking before I reached her. "You are ruining your daughter," she said. "You coddle him, you crush her, you teach her that being loud makes her bad." I said, "Please do not speak about my children to me without context." She tilted her head. Context is not an excuse. Girls need to be taught they are not less worthy of comfort. Behind her, Daisy and a friend were playing a jump rope game. Eddie was building a little tower of mulch and leaves under the tree. I told Kara quietly, "Eddie's nervous system shuts down with yelling. Comfort regulates him. Daisy's nervous system revs with chaos. Clear rules regulate her. Kara said, "Sounds like you made nice words for favoritism." She stepped closer like she wanted to make it a crowd. "Try treating them the same." I said, "No, I am treating them fairly." Then I turned to my kids. "Daisy, we are leaving in 5. How many jumps will you do?" 20. "Great." Count to 20. "Eddie, 2 choices. Do you want to carry your stones in your pocket or the snack bag?" He chose the snack bag. We left. Kara said loudly, "Good luck when your daughter stops loving you." I did not turn around. I buckled Eddie, asked Daisy what repair she thought was fair if she bumped someone tomorrow, and breathed until my jaw unclenched. At home, the fallout looked mundane. I took Daisy's tablet and wrote on the fridge calendar. Early bedtime. Story first. Practice start and stop tomorrow. Daisy groused, then asked if she could pick the story. She chose the fairy book with the fox and took her consequences like a person who knows what rules are. Eddie needed extra quiet, so we used the visual schedule to get through snack, math worksheet, and 10 minutes of swing on the back porch. He asked me to sit nearby, but not push. He watched the sky and squeezed the ball. He is not a golden child. He is a child who needs the volume turned down so the world does not hurt. Around 7, Mr. Bell texted that Ms. Lopez had sent the staff blurb and that he had forwarded an adapted version to the parent list. He wrote, "I learned something today. It was kind." 10 minutes later, the parent chat exploded with a fresh thread called, "All Kids Deserve Comfort." A few parents apologized for reflexive judgments. One wrote, "My second needs a timer. My first needs a hug. I never thought of that as inconsistent." A handful of voices doubled down on sameness. I did not reply. I cannot make the internet agree with my house. Jenna called to ask if I wanted her to clap back in the thread. I said no. She said, "I go back and forth, but when I watched the whole clip, it looked like a mother doing 2 jobs at once." That sentence made me cry for 12 seconds over the sink. I will take a measured sister over a chorus. To the people asking if Daisy ever gets comfort and Eddie ever gets consequences, the answer is yes. Daisy gets cuddles on the couch every night. She gets validation before she gets the line. Eddie gets boundaries when he speaks rudely. He has lost Lego time for slamming a door. What you saw was a snapshot of a moment with a whistle and a shoulder bump. If you have never walked from a regulation script to a repair script with 2 kids in one parking lot, it probably looks like bias. In our house, it looks like survival. I am not perfect. I went to bed replaying my tone at the chalk square. I wondered if I should have offered Daisy a quick 5-second hug before the consequence, just to make the love obvious to the bystanders. I do not want Daisy to equate loud with bad. I want her to understand loud and kind can live together, and loud without breaks gets other people hurt. Both things can be true at once. Ms. Lopez emailed me the no recording note the principal will send tomorrow. It says, in part, "Out of respect for student privacy and safety, please do not film dismissal." It also says, "Families use different strategies to support their children. Our goal is regulation and repair, not public judgment." I am holding onto that like a stone in my pocket. Updated question. Am I wrong to keep using a calm script and choices for Eddie and clear, immediate consequences for Daisy in public, even after the video blow-up and the playground confrontation? Or should I change approach for optics so strangers do not accuse me of having a golden child? Comment 1. You are doing it right. Clarify the plan with school, keep Daisy's predictable consequences, and keep Eddie's regulation script. Optics are not the goal. Regulation and repair are. Comment 2. The principal's no recording note is perfect. Document everything, keep the fridge calendar visible for Daisy, and carry the squeeze ball for Eddie. Most parents will understand once the school frames it, like Ms. Lopez did. Update 2. The principal sent the no recording note at 8 a.m. It was short and clear. Please do not film dismissal. Different families use different strategies. Regulation and repair are our goals. I made coffee and exhaled like someone had turned down the dimmer. By lunch, the parent chat had 2 new threads arguing about whether the school was silencing mothers. Kara wrote that she had a First Amendment right to document harm. A few parents sent me private messages that said, "For what it is worth, your twins look loved." The fall festival was that night. I almost stayed home. Both kids had been counting down, so we went with a plan written on an index card. Eddie would wear soft headphones. We would walk the perimeter first. Daisy would carry a punch card for games and had to hand it to the volunteer with her palm still, not slap it down like a ticket booth. We practiced both scripts on the porch. Eddie squeezed my hand twice to say ready. Daisy rolled her eyes and then repeated the rule back to me, which is Daisy for yes. The gym smelled like caramel corn in classrooms. On our third table, a microphone squealed. Eddie stopped moving like his bones forgot. I crouched. I see tight shoulders. I hear the sound. I believe you. He breathed with me while the DJ apologized into the mic and the volunteer turned the speaker off. I pointed toward the hallway. We can step out. Your choice. He chose to walk out and count posters in the corridor until his shoulders lowered. A teacher walked by and gave me a thumb up. A small mercy. While we were working our plan, Daisy played a ring toss with 3 kids. She cut in front of a volunteer's reminder and tossed before the group step. The volunteer said, "Wait your turn." Daisy said, "I was in motion." The volunteer raised her eyebrows. I walked back and placed my hand out. Pause. You broke the line. Repair. Daisy huffed and said sorry to the group. Then she said to the volunteer, "It is confusing when you do not show us how." It was not cruel, but it was spice. The volunteer handed her card back and said, "Thank you for the apology. Try the chalk art next." Daisy tried to negotiate a do-over. I said, "No, chalk or home." She picked chalk. We moved on. At the cakewalk, Kara arrived with a face like a fire alarm. She did not have her phone out, but her voice was the same one she uses when she thinks a crowd will carry her. "So you get special treatment for one and public shame for the other," she said. "Do you see how twisted that is?" I answered without raising my voice. Eddie had a sensory tip. Daisy cut the line and repaired. Both are regulation. She laughed. "You mean favoritism?" I called Ms. Lopez over like a person asking the weather. "Could you help me explain what individualized support looks like to parents who have never seen it?" Ms. Lopez smiled gently and said to Kara, "The same outcome. Calm, accountable kids. Different paths. That is the work." Kara rolled her eyes and called it doublespeak. She walked away muttering about girls who learn they're wrong for being loud. We did not win a cake. We did leave with 4 chalked planets and a boy who counted every poster in the hallway twice without crying. On the way home, Daisy asked if the early bedtime for 2 Square was over. I said yes for tonight. She asked for a story about a fox that ran fast and still listened. Eddie pressed his headphones into my lap and said, "I do not hate the gym. That is a sentence you only love if you know our house." The next morning, a cousin of Kara's posted a snide caption. "Some parents love labels so they can coddle one child and crush the other." The comment thread was a bonfire. People I barely know tagged my name. I put my phone on the fridge and left it there. Instead, I printed Ms. Lopez's little one-pager that she gave to staff. 2 paragraphs. Individually tailored strategies are consistent when they are predictable and known. Comfort regulates nervous systems. Clear consequences regulate behavior. Repair restores community. I taped it inside the pantry door where I keep the lunchboxes. If you want to know what a pep talk looks like in our house, it is a half sheet of paper next to the granola bars. Jenna came by with wild hair and opinions. "Say the word and I will set the chat on fire," she said. I said, "No, please do not make my kids collateral for your sport." She sat at the counter and ate an apple and said, "Fine, but for the record, Daisy looks like every bold woman I ever wanted to be at 8. I said, "She is a bold woman who needs breaks." Jenna saluted with the apple. Mr. Bell sent a class-wide email asking families to practice wait turns language at home because a few kids had been sprinting from tables. He did not name my child. It still stung like people were seeing only Daisy's storm and not Eddie's quiet win. Then a mom I barely know, the one whose son wears a dinosaur hoodie every day, stopped me at pickup and said, "My older kid needed the timer. My younger needs the squeeze ball. I was you at the festival. Thank you for not apologizing for doing both." I went home and cried in the laundry room for 90 seconds. Laundry is the safest place to cry. I am not pretending, I am serene. When I replay the chalk table, I wish I had offered Daisy a shoulder squeeze before the consequence, not after. I am learning that love first does not cancel lines. It holds them steadier. Eddie put his breathing card into his backpack himself this morning. Daisy asked if we could mark repair on her chart for the cakewalk apology. I said yes and let her draw the check. It matters that she owns the repair more than I do. Kara started a petition to standardize behavior responses at school. 10 signatures bubbled up from the same cluster that lives in the chat. Ms. Lopez forwarded the petition to the principal with a note that said, "We do not vote on other children's accommodations." The principal replied all. Correct. I printed that and slid it behind the pantry paper like an extra layer of spine. We are a family. Our twins are not an exhibit. Eddie needs choices and quiet and time. Daisy needs lines and fast feedback and then a path to rejoin. Both get stories. Both get consequences when they hurt someone. Both get my face at their eye level. Outsiders see a moment and write a headline. I see hundreds of small repetitions adding up to people who know how to calm themselves and fix it when they break something. Comment 1. This is how it should look. Eddie got regulation, Daisy got repair and consequence. You involved the counselor and the principal. Keep the pantry paper. Keep ignoring Kara's bait. You are modeling exactly what schools say they want. Comment 2. I still think Daisy could use a comfort moment before consequence so she does not link loud with bad. 5 seconds of a hand on her shoulder, then the line. It will help the optics and her nervous system. The rest is solid. Update 3. Monday at 7:11 a.m., I opened my email and saw the subject line, "Formal concern regarding differential treatment." It was from Kara, CC'd to the principal, Mr. Bell, Ms. Lopez, and the generic district inbox. The body read like a closing argument. She listed timestamps from dismissal and the fall festival, wrote that I shamed Daisy while coddling Eddie, and ended with, "This mother is teaching girls they are wrong for being loud." She attached 2 stills from her video and a link to her petition to standardize discipline. 30 minutes later, a class-wide message from Mr. Bell hit my phone. Reminder to use consistent expectations for all children at school and home. I stood in the kitchen, phone in one hand, Eddie's headphones in the other, and felt my chest do the bird in a box thing. On Friday, he had told me he learned something. On Monday, I got a blanket note that landed like a scold. I forwarded the thread to Ms. Lopez with one line. I would like a meeting. She replied in 4 minutes with times, plus, please bring Eddie's plan and Daisy's chart. I will bring the no recording policy and the accommodation guidance we sent. The meeting was at 3:30 in the counselor's office. Chairs that are too small for adults and a poster about feelings faces. The principal opened by saying the school takes parent concerns seriously and also supports individualized strategies. Mr. Bell sat with his hands folded like he was waiting to be told which way to lean. Kara arrived with a binder and the expression of a person who expected applause. She sat across from me. Ms. Lopez placed a printed copy of the parent policy on the table with the sentence, "Do not record other people's children on school property," highlighted in yellow. I went first because my voice is strongest before apologies get invited into it. I slid copies of Eddie's sensory plan and Daisy's behavior chart to each adult. I read the pieces out loud the way you read a recipe to make sure you do not skip salt. Eddie has headphones for assemblies, water break after bells, script to return him to regulation. Daisy helped write 3 rules: repair on harm, predictable consequences, positive reinforcement. I said, these are the tools. They are not opinions. They are written. They work. Kara said, they work to make one child favored. She turned to Mr. Bell. You sent a note about consistency. Thank you. Then to me. Why is Daisy the one who sits out? Why does he get comfort and she gets public embarrassment? I said, Daisy gets comfort too. She also gets a line. Eddie gets comfort and also gets consequences when he chooses rudeness. What you keep filming are moments when their scripts are different because their needs are different. Ms. Lopez slid the policy closer. We do not debate accommodations by vote, she said. We do not record students at dismissal. The principal added, we will not be standardizing behavior responses by petition. Our standard is regulated students who repair and return. Kara pivoted to her binder. Fine, she said. Then I am filing a complaint that this mother is emotionally neglecting her daughter. The girl needed a hug. The boy got a hug. I said, you saw 5 minutes. Daisy got a story that night and I sat on her floor while she fell asleep. She also lost tablet time because she broke a line. My voice did not shake. I felt it try to. I breathed in for 4 and set my shoulders. Mr. Bell cleared his throat. I should not have sent a blanket message without context, he said. I read the thread and reacted. He looked at me. I apologize. Then he looked at Kara. I will not be supporting your petition. Kara went red in the way anger does when it has to sit. She looked at the principal. So parents cannot raise concerns now? The principal said, you can raise concerns through staff. You cannot film children at dismissal. You cannot use parent chats to accuse a named family of abuse. She pushed a printed sheet across the table. It was a reminder to all parents about privacy and process, slated for tomorrow's newsletter. She had added a line at the bottom. Concerns must be addressed to staff, not other parents, and videos of other people's children violate policy. I said, I will be very clear about my boundary too. I kept my tone low and slow. If I see a phone aimed at my children again at school, I will walk to the office and ask for a staff member to accompany me to the person filming. If the person refuses to stop, I will file a report with the school and, if necessary, the police. I looked at Kara. Do not point your phone at my kids. It was the first time I had said a sentence like that without also adding a softener. I did not add one. Ms. Lopez said, that is reasonable. The principal nodded and checked a box on her pad like that was exactly the line she had hoped I would draw. We left the office without a friendly wrap-up. On the way to the parking lot, Kara hissed, you just wait. That girl will hate you, I said without turning. My daughter does not belong to your storyline. Then I got in the car and sat with my hands on the wheel until the bird in a box feeling flew out through my mouth as breath. At dinner, Daisy ate 2 tacos and asked if the school festival chalk counted as art time on her chart. I said yes and had her mark it. Eddie told me the fire drill tomorrow was scheduled and asked if we could practice our script twice. We did. Then Daisy said, can I have a hug before bed, even if I had a consequence? And climbed into my lap like she remembered we are allowed to hold 2 things at once. The newsletter went out the next morning. The top half was Spirit Week. The bottom half was the policy box with 3 bullets. No filming students. Concerns through staff. Respect individualized supports. A few parents replied, all with a thumbs up. One wrote, thank you. Kara posted a subtweet about silenced mothers on her personal page. It gathered her usual chorus and then faded under a picture of a lasagna. I bought 2 small clipboards on my way home and labeled them with painter's tape. Eddie's plan, Daisy's chart. They sit in our entry basket now, facing up. When I feel myself wobble because a stranger's opinion starts narrating my day, I read the clipboards like they are little compasses. 2 kids, 2 toolkits, same mother, same goal. The fire drill happened at 10 o'clock. At pickup, Eddie was proud. He said, I breathed with Ms. Lopez and I did not sit under the coats. Daisy said, I walked the whole time and did not shoulder anyone. We high-fived. We went home. I made boxed mac and cheese. I left my phone on the counter, face down, and it buzzed itself tired without me. I know this is not the last time someone will mistake tailored for unfair. I also know I am steadier than I was last week. The scripts are the same. The spine behind them is firmer. Recording stopped. The petition stalled. My kids came home with quiet wins that will never go viral. That is the point. Comment 1. You did exactly what needed doing. You brought the written plans, got the school to restate policy, and set a clear boundary about filming. Keep the clipboards by the door. Steady and boring is how this becomes normal. Comment 2. Mr. Bell's apology is huge. With the no recording policy in writing and Ms. Lopez backing individualized supports, you have cover. Keep documenting Daisy's repairs and Eddie's regulation wins. The rest is background noise. Update 4. After the meeting, the temperature dropped a few degrees. The newsletter box about privacy went out. The petition for standardized responses lost steam. Kara posted a casserole and 2 silenced mothers, captions that got less engagement than the lasagna. People still have opinions, but fewer of them attach a timestamp. Field day landed like a test. Noise, whistles, lines that blur the minute chalk meets sneakers. We did the index card again. Eddie. Headphones, perimeter lap first, choose 2 table options. Daisy. Punch card in a still palm, 3 rules spoken back to me before she got her first station. Use walking feet. Use inside voice indoors. Repair if you cause harm. The 3rd rotation was tug of war. Daisy dug in and pulled like the rope had offended a relative. A smaller kid on her team tumbled, and Daisy, still pulling, dragged him a foot on his knees before the teacher blew the whistle. He popped up with scuffed palms and watery eyes. I reached Daisy first. I did not whisper. I did not shout. Pause, I said. You kept pulling after he fell. Rule 3. She tried the Daisy defense. I was in motion, and I put out my hand. Repair. We walked with the boy to the nurse. Daisy stood beside him while his palms got cleaned. Then I sat her on the bench next to me and wrote on her chart, 48-hour screen freeze. Apology note to Ben, restitution jar. She asked, restitution for what? The nurse held up a broken friendship bracelet. Daisy looked at the beads and then at Ben and said, without prompting, I can fix the bracelet or buy you a new one. He said, new one. She nodded once, sharp. We went to the craft table afterward and she picked a $5 kit. She put $5 of her allowance in a jar on our counter when we got home. No one filmed it. Most repair does not trend. At the same time, on the other side of the field, the DJ tested the speakers. Eddie flinched so hard I saw it from the nurse's office doorway. Ms. Lopez appeared like she had teleported. Hand low, voice low. I see your shoulders. I hear the sound. I believe you. He breathed, and together they walked the track once. He used his card to choose water and the ring toss instead of the relay. When I caught up, he said, I did not hide under coats. I did the track. He was pink-cheeked and proud. I said, that is regulation. And my voice did the wobble I save for the laundry room. He did not notice. That is how it should be. That afternoon, Daisy wrote her apology note to Ben at the table while Eddie sorted the beads. She wrote, I pulled too hard and you fell. I am sorry I kept pulling. I will look behind me next time. She put the note with the new bracelet in a zip bag and taped it to her chart. She asked if the screen freeze canceled stories. No, stories are not currency. She helped Eddie pick the Fox book and leaned into my shoulder like the bench had never happened. I am learning to let love land before consequence and after, not instead of. The pylon tried to revive itself once. Kara posted a screenshot of the newsletter with standardized fairness typed over it. A handful of replies said some version of, I use different tools for my kids too. One comment said, why does her boy get comfort? The dinosaur hoodie mom wrote, because comfort regulates some kids. Clear lines regulate others. We can hold two truths. I did not send flowers to that woman. I thought about it. At school, Mr. Bell started narrating positives out loud. I noticed Daisy stopped and waited her turn, he said near the hand-washing station one morning. Daisy smirked and said, saw that, in a way that sounded like pride, not performance. Eddie told him, I have my card if the bell is loud, and tapped his backpack pocket like a secret handshake. Ms. Lopez scheduled a 5-minute parent coffee after drop-off on individualized supports. 10 people came. It was not a movement. It was enough. Jenna tried to organize a clapback in the parent chat again. I asked her, please do not turn my kids into your sport. She said, fine, and instead texted me a photo of Daisy mid-leap on the field day hurdles with the caption, rocket. Later, she sent Eddie a meme with a sloth wearing headphones. He sent back a dot. Jenna wrote, I accept the dot. It is good to have one person who speaks your family's small language. The week after field day, Eddie had a morning where socks felt like cages and the sound of the cereal hitting the bowl was too sharp. Old me would have hustled everyone into the car anyway and arrived late and frazzled. We used the schedule instead. Eddie put on yesterday's socks, the ones his body had already survived, and we switched the cereal to toast. He breathed. We were on time. No one clapped for that win. I did, in my chest. Daisy bumped a classmate's shoulder at recess the following Tuesday and caught herself. She turned without waiting for me and said, my bad, I was in motion, and then, are you okay? And then walked back to the line. The duty teacher gave me a look that said, I saw that. Daisy side-eyed me at pickup. Does that go on my chart? She asked, preemptive offering. That goes on your chart as a star, I said. She drew one with the fat yellow marker and only a little bit on the counter. There is still noise. A parent sent me an article about learned helplessness in boys, like I asked for homework. Another asked if Daisy had ADD letters because lines bounce off her. I did not answer either. Ms. Lopez keeps a stash of extra breathing cards. Mr. Bell deletes the occasional pot-stirring thread in the class app without fanfare. The principal emailed a reminder to all volunteers that correcting other people's children is the staff's job. It hung in the digital air like a curtain. slight flutter, then still. When I doubt, I go back to the clipboards. Eddie's plan, Daisy's chart. It is not poetry, it is not defense, it is paper. 2 kids, 2 toolkits, same love. When I wobble about optics, I put my palm on Daisy's head for 3 seconds before I set a line. When I wobble about softness, I make Eddie say the script out loud before he chooses his calm corner. Comfort does not replace accountability. It enables it. No one else has the right to film my children while they practice being people. No one gets to vote on their regulation. My job is not to produce one photo-ready method. It is to raise 2 humans who can stop themselves when they are in motion and breathe when the whistle blows. Last Friday, both twins did exactly that within the same hour. The world did not applaud. We ate pizza at the small table and told the Fox story again. That is the reward that matters. Comment 1, this is the model. Daisy got consequence and real restitution with a note and a bracelet. Eddie used the plan and regulated through the speaker squeal. You kept stories separate from screens. That is consistent, not identical. Keep doing exactly this. Comment 2, tiny tweak worth considering. When Daisy is benched, give a 3-second shoulder squeeze first so her nervous system registers connection before correction. Otherwise, your framework is rock solid. Final update, 8 months later. 8 months does not sound like much until you stack the days in a row and watch habits turn into muscle memory. If you walked into our house now, you would find the same little entry basket, but the clipboards are softened at the edges from use. Eddie's plan has 3 new pictures he drew himself. Daisy's chart has fewer heavy marks and more stars. The pantry door still holds Ms. Lopez's 1-pager about individualized supports. The paper has become less like armor and more like scaffolding that we barely notice while it holds us up. Eddie is taller. That is the first thing I always see. The second is that he reaches for his breathing card less often because the script lives under his tongue now. He uses it on his own, quietly. I watch him at the threshold before a crowded room, put a hand flat on his chest, breathe in for 4, hold, breathe out for 4, then step in. He does not hide behind coats anymore. He takes water breaks without being asked. The headphones come out for assemblies, but sometimes they stay around his neck because the room is manageable. He still has days where sound feels like sand in his ears. On those days, predictability is our map. Visual schedule, 2 choices, 10-minute swing. You can call that routine. I call it relief. Daisy is still a bolt of energy in shoes. The difference is that she sees the line now and can stop before she crosses it. Not always. Often enough that teachers mention it with a real smile and not the tight one. She wrote 3 apology notes this spring. All 3 were shorter than the tug-of-war letter and more precise. 2 weeks ago, she bumped into a classmate while racing to the art table and said, before I even opened my mouth, "My bad, are you okay?" Then stepped back and waited for an answer. She still loves to win. She is learning to like repair. The chart is lighter these days, fewer early bedtimes and more checks under helped set the table and waited turn without being asked. Daisy lobbied to add a self-repair box so she could mark the moments when she owns it without my prompt. It was her idea. She drew the box herself with a fat yellow marker. School adjusted in the way institutions do when one person refuses to make a single family the lesson plan. Mr. Bell started narrating specifics. I noticed Eddie took a water break and came back to the circle. I saw Daisy look behind her before she moved forward. That language did not cost him anything. It bought my kids something that cannot be filmed. Ms. Lopez hosts a 5-minute parent coffee once a month now. It is not a seminar. It is a table with handouts and a sentence that says, 2 kids can need different tools and both can be consistent. 10 people come 1 month, 3 the next, sometimes none. The point is, the door is open. The school kept the privacy reminder in the newsletter footer. No filming other people's children. Concerns through staff, not group chats. Respect individualized supports. It is a small box of text that has saved me from at least 3 arguments I will never see. Kara still posts about silenced mothers on her own page. It gets a handful of comments from the same cluster every time. I do not read them. The petition for standardized responses disappeared the way casseroles do at a potluck when the good dishes are gone and only the lukewarm ones are left. I can admit that I check the parking lot sometimes for phones held at that angle. I have not seen one pointed at us since the meeting. That is a gift. even if it came wrapped in policy instead of kindness. At home, the work became ordinary. We moved the clipboards to eye level, and the fight in my chest quieted. I offer Daisy a shoulder squeeze before I set a line. 5 seconds. Connection first, then correction. It costs me nothing and helps both of us remember that boundaries live inside love. Eddie learns that comfort is not currency because his choices still have shape. He lost Lego time last month for slamming a door after I asked him to pause. He walked himself to the calm corner and did the script. Then we did the consequence. That is the order that sticks. Jenna still arrives like weather and leaves like weather. She has stopped asking to burn the parent chat down. She reads the clipboards and says, 2 toolkits, I get it. She took Daisy to a fun run and made her promise to wave at 2 volunteers. Daisy did. The volunteers waved back. It should not feel like a victory when strangers do not scold your child for being bright in public. It still does. We have a small catalog of good sentences now. Eddie says, it was loud and I still did it. Daisy says, I was in motion, but I stopped. I say thank you for telling the truth about your body and your choices. Every once in a while, Eddie puts his breathing card into Daisy's backpack pocket before a big day. She pretends she does not see it, then reaches in and squeezes it once the way he does. They are twins who do not mirror each other. They are twins who sometimes trade tools without making it a speech. There is a part of me that still wants optics to behave. I cannot make that happen. What I can do is keep my phone face down at the curb and walk my kids to the car without narrating us for an audience that is not invited. When people ask how it is going, I say, steady. That is the truth. It is not perfect. It is steady. I am a better parent than I was last fall. That is a sentence I can say without also writing a defense brief underneath it. Some of that growth is mine. Some of it belongs to the adults who backed me in rooms I could not control. Some of it belongs to 2 children who are teaching me how to see what is in front of me and not the version people project on a screen. Eddie's headphones are still in his backpack. Daisy's restitution jar now holds a few quarters and a folded note that says, for when I break something on accident. We still eat boxed mac and cheese on nights when the day took too many words. We still read the Fox book when we need a story about running and listening. We still keep the clipboards by the door. Closure for us does not look like a perfect video of synchronized behavior. It looks like Eddie walking into a gym without hiding. It looks like Daisy catching herself mid-sprint and choosing to walk. It looks like a mother putting a hand on a shoulder before a line is set. 2 kids, 2 toolkits, 1 steady home. 1 steady home. 1 steady home. 1 steady